Hey, welcome to another episode of the Bookshelf Podcast. Here we bring you well-researched content backed by authentic sources. So plug in your headphones, hit play, and enjoy. And hey, don't forget to subscribe, it really helps a lot.
Ever feel like you're just skimming the surface of a book? Like there's a deeper level of understanding you're missing out on.
A lot of people feel that way.
It turns out there are techniques to unlock the full potential of your reading.
Oh, absolutely. There are ways to make reading a much richer experience.
We're about to take a deep dive into the art of reading.
That's what we're here for.
And I've got an expert guide to help us navigate the most insightful parts of the material you shared. Welcome to the show.
It's great to be here.
It looks like you're ready to transform your reading experience. And that's exactly what we're going to do today.
Absolutely.
Reading is more than just decoding words on a page.
Right. It really is.
It's about engaging with ideas, expanding your horizons, and extracting wisdom from the written word.
I love that.
So, where do we even begin this journey to reading mastery?
Well, I think it all begins with choosing the right book for the right reasons.
That makes sense. One of the sources compared picking a book to a first date. Get a feel before committing, it said.
I like that.
It sounds simple enough, but how do we actually apply that?
Well, it's all about aligning your book choice with your reading goals. So, ask yourself, what am I hoping to get out of this?
Of this particular book.
Yeah, exactly. Are you looking for pure escapism? To learn a new skill? Or to dive deep into a specific topic, you need to know what you're looking for.
So if I'm craving a lighthearted escape, I might reach for a cozy mystery instead of, say, a dense philosophical treatise.
Exactly.
Okay.
Makes sense. Being intentional about your book selection really sets the stage for a more rewarding reading experience. It's like choosing the right tool for the job. You wouldn't use a hammer to tighten a screw, would you?
That's a great analogy. Okay, I'm sold on the importance of choosing wisely. But with so many books out there, how do we efficiently assess whether a book is worth our precious time?
Right. That's where something called inspectional reading comes in.
Inspectional reading. Okay.
It's a technique that allows you to quickly evaluate a book's relevance and potential value without committing to a full read.
Sounds intriguing. But isn't that just like skimming?
Well, it's more than just skimming. Inspectional reading involves a systematic approach. Instead of randomly flipping through pages, try reading the table of contents, the preface, the introduction. Pay attention to chapter titles and subheadings.
Okay.
This will give you a sense of the book's structure, main arguments, and overall tone.
So it's like creating a mental map of the book before embarking on the full journey.
Precisely.
I like that.
And then to get a deeper feel for the author's style and approach, try reading the first and last paragraph of a few chapters.
Oh, interesting.
This will give you a taste of the writing and help you decide if it resonates with you.
That's a great tip.
Yeah.
I often find myself starting books that lose my interest after a few chapters.
Yeah.
Inspectional reading could definitely save me a lot of time and frustration.
I think so too.
So let's say we found a book that passes the inspectional reading test. What's the next step in our journey to becoming more effective readers?
The key to unlocking deeper meaning and maximizing retention is active reading. It's about going beyond passive consumption and really engaging with the text on a critical level.
Okay, but I think most engaged readers already highlight, take notes. What makes active reading different?
Think of it as having a conversation with the author. You're not just accepting their words at face value. Instead, you're questioning their assumptions, challenging their arguments, and connecting their ideas to your own experiences and knowledge.
So it's about becoming an active participant in the creation of meaning, not just a passive recipient of information.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there are specific techniques that can help you do this effectively.
Oh, I'd love to hear about them.
For example, try using different colored highlighters to categorize information. Use one color for key concepts, another for supporting evidence, and a third for your own thoughts and reactions.
That's a great idea. It turns highlighting from a passive activity into a way of actively organizing and analyzing information.
Precisely. And don't be afraid to write in the margins. Jot down questions that come to mind, connect the text to current events or personal experiences, or even challenge the author's arguments.
It's about turning the book into a reflection of your own intellectual journey. I love that.
Absolutely. And one of the sources mentioned a specific note-taking technique called the Cornell method.
Okay.
This involves dividing your notes into 3 sections. key points, supporting details, and a summary section where you synthesize the main takeaways.
That sounds like a great way to organize your thoughts and ensure you're really digesting the material.
It really is. And for those who are visually inclined, try mind mapping. This involves creating a visual representation of the key concepts and their relationships to each other.
So active reading isn't just one thing. It's a toolbox of techniques that we can use to engage with the text in a deeper and more meaningful way.
Exactly. And the more techniques you have in your arsenal, the more effectively you can adapt your reading approach to different types of texts and different reading goals.
So we've talked about choosing books strategically and engaging with them actively. But what about those moments when we feel like we're just not getting it? When the text seems dense, complex, or just plain confusing? What do we do then?
That's where analytical reading comes in.
Okay.
It's about going beyond simply understanding the words on the page and digging deeper into the author's intentions, biases, and underlying assumptions.
Okay, so it's not just about what the author's saying, but also about why they're saying it.
Exactly. One of the sources used the example of reading George Orwell's 1984, and it suggested asking yourself questions like, what were Orwell's political beliefs? Or how did his experiences in World War II influence his writing?
That's such a powerful way to approach a classic text. It's like peeling back the layers of history and context to reveal the deeper meanings embedded within the words.
I agree.
And it's not just about historical context, right?
Right. You can apply analytical reading to any text, from news articles to scientific papers to even social media posts. By understanding the author's perspective and potential biases, you can critically evaluate the information presented and form your own informed opinions.
That's incredibly valuable in today's world of information overload. So analytical reading is like a superpower that allows us to see through the surface and understand the deeper forces at play.
I love that analogy. And it's a skill that can be developed and honed with practice. The more you read critically, the more adept you'll become at discerning fact from opinion, identifying logical fallacies, and separating the wheat from the chaff in the vast field of information we encounter every day.
Wow, this is really starting to feel like we're unlocking a whole new level of reading comprehension. This is great. So we've talked about choosing books strategically, engaging with them actively, and analytically. But what happens when we want to go even deeper, like when we want to really immerse ourselves in a topic and explore it from multiple perspectives?
That's where syntopical reading comes in.
Syntopical reading.
Yeah. It's a powerful technique that allows you to synthesize information from multiple sources to gain a richer, more nuanced understanding of a subject.
Okay, I've got to admit, I'm not familiar with that term.
So it involves reading multiple books on the same theme or topic. The goal isn't just to absorb information from each individual book, but to actively compare and contrast the different perspectives, identify patterns and contradictions, and ultimately construct your own comprehensive understanding of the subject.
So instead of just reading one book about, say, the history of the French Revolution,
Right.
I might read several books by different historians who offer different interpretations of the events.
Exactly. One of the sources actually gave the example of comparing Yuval Noah Harari's *Sapiens* with Jared Diamond's *Guns, Germs, and Steel*. Both books explore the history of humanity, but they do so from very different angles. By reading both, you can gain a more comprehensive understanding of the forces that have shaped our species.
That's fascinating. I can see how syntopical reading would be incredibly valuable for research, or for anyone who wants to just delve deeply into a particular subject. But with limited time, how can someone realistically incorporate this into their reading routine?
That's a great question. It doesn't have to be an all-or-nothing approach, you know. You can start small, choose 2 or 3 books on a topic you're genuinely interested in, and dedicate a set amount of time each week to reading them concurrently.
So instead of reading one book at a time, I might be reading a chapter from one book on Monday, a chapter from another book on Tuesday, and so on.
Exactly. And as you're reading, make connections between the texts. Jot down notes in the margins, highlight passages that resonate with each other, or even create a separate notebook where you synthesize your findings and reflections.
It's like creating your own personal graduate seminar on any topic that interests you. I love that.
And that's really the beauty of syntopical reading. It empowers you to become an active curator of knowledge, to shape your own understanding of the world through the lens of multiple perspectives.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've explored techniques for choosing books, engaging with them actively and analytically, and even diving deep into topics through syntopical reading. But what about the practical side of reading? How do we fit it into our busy lives? and overcome common challenges like distractions and procrastination?
Those are excellent questions. And luckily, the sources offer some valuable insights on that front. One key takeaway is to embrace flexibility and adapt your reading habits to your lifestyle.
So there's no one right way to read.
Exactly. Recognize that different formats, physical books, ebooks, audiobooks, they all have their pros and cons. Choose the format that best suits your needs and preferences.
So if I love the tactile experience of turning pages and making notes in the margins, a physical book might be my best bet. But if I'm constantly on the go, an ebook or audiobook could be more practical.
Precisely. And don't be afraid to mix and match. You might prefer physical books for deep reading and audiobooks for multitasking while commuting or doing chores.
It's about finding what works best for you and not feeling bound by any rigid rules.
Exactly. And even within those formats, there are strategies you can employ to enhance your focus and maximize your reading time.
Like what? Give us some examples.
Well, one common challenge is distractions. The sources suggest creating a dedicated reading space, free from distractions like phones, social media, and even other people.
So it's like creating a sanctuary for your mind, a place where you can truly immerse yourself in the world of the book.
Exactly. Even if you can't dedicate a whole room to reading, try finding a quiet corner in your home or a peaceful spot in a park where you can escape the hustle and bustle of daily life.
And what about those days when we just can't seem to find the time to read? I'm often guilty of saying, I just don't have time to read. But I'm starting to realize that's probably just an excuse.
It's easy to fall into that trap. But the key is to integrate reading into your existing routines. Even just 10 or 15 minutes a day can make a significant difference over time.
So instead of scrolling through social media before bed, I could spend that time reading a few pages of a book.
Exactly. Or you could listen to an audiobook during your commute or while you're working out. The key is to make reading a regular habit, even if it's just for short bursts of time.
And what about speed reading? Is that a legitimate technique, or is it more hype than substance?
Speed reading can be a valuable tool for processing information quickly, especially when dealing with emails, news articles, or technical documents. But when it comes to literature and complex texts, it's important to strike a balance between efficiency and comprehension.
So I shouldn't try to speed read my way through War and Peace.
Probably not. The beauty of great literature lies in its nuances, its layers of meaning, and the way it evokes emotions and sparks reflection.
So speed reading might be great for absorbing information quickly, but for truly savoring a book and letting its ideas sink in, a slower, more deliberate pace is often best.
Absolutely. And remember, reading is not a race. There's no need to feel pressured to read a certain number of books per year or to finish every book you start. It's about quality over quantity. Choose books that resonate with you, engage with them deeply, and allow yourself to be transformed by the experience.
It's really about making it a more enriching experience, isn't it? Not just racing to the finish line.
I think so. It should be enjoyable, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think we've covered a lot of ground today. We've explored techniques for choosing books, engaging with them actively and analytically, and even diving deep into topics through syntopical reading. We've really explored a wide range of techniques. But from all of this, what's one key takeaway that you hope our listeners will remember?
That's a good question. If I had to choose just one thing, I think it would be to approach reading with intentionality and curiosity. Choose books that align with your goals. Engage with the text actively and critically. And don't be afraid to experiment with different techniques and formats.
It's about making reading a conscious, deliberate act, not just a passive pastime.
Exactly. And by doing so, we can unlock the transformative power of reading and make it a source of, lifelong learning, enjoyment, and personal growth.
I love that. Reading is a source of lifelong learning, enjoyment, and growth. That's a beautiful way to sum up our conversation today.
To our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of reading. We hope you've gained some valuable insights that will enhance your own reading experiences.
And before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a thought-provoking question to ponder. What was the last book that truly captivated you, that left a lasting impression?
Yeah, think about what it was about that book that resonated with you so deeply. Was it the writing style, the characters, the themes, or something else entirely?
Yeah, and how might that experience inform your future reading choices?
Take some time to reflect on that. And if you're feeling inspired, share your thoughts with us.
Absolutely. And hey, if you discovered a new reading hack today or had an aha moment during our chat, don't keep it to yourself. Share it.
Yeah, share it with the community.
Let's all help each other become better, more engaged readers.
Absolutely. The beauty of reading is that it's both a solitary and a shared experience. We can each embark on our own individual journeys, but we can also come together to discuss, debate, and learn from each other's insights.
And that's what makes these deep dives so rewarding. It's like we're all on this journey of discovery together, exploring new ideas, expanding our horizons one book at a time.
And who knows? Maybe our conversation today will inspire someone to pick up a book they've been putting off, or to try a new reading technique that transforms their entire experience.
That would be amazing. So to all our listeners out there, keep those pages turning, keep those minds expanding.
And never stop exploring the boundless world of knowledge and imagination that lies within the covers of a book.
Thanks for joining us on the deep dive. We put a lot of effort into researching and crafting these episodes. So if you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing and sharing it with your fellow bookworms.
Until next time.